Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. And then all of the clock gears and the dynamite fuse, it's all started. Things are about to happen. I'm excited. I can't wait to introduce our guest today. He is everything. He is a marketing leader. He's a thought leader, brand strategist, fellow podcaster to the stars, huge podcast, the B2B Power Hour. Big fan. He co-hosts that, talking sales, talking marketing, hashing it out with his co-host, managing director of Aligned, Morgan Smith. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, Casey. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. What an intro. Remind me to bring you on the B2B Power Hour sometime so you can introduce us, because I feel like I'm psyched to be here now.
I feel like you can clip it and it can become your Joe Rogan clip, you know?
Honestly, I'm down.
B2B Power Hour by day. Marketing by night. All day.
I love that.
Totally, man. So I'm so glad you're here. I can't wait to learn from you. I mean, we've chatted before. There's some things we're just dying to just get after and smash. So I need to pass you this thing. It's heavy, but clearly you work out more than I do. Here we go. All right, you got it? All right.
Yep, I got it.
All right, take Thor's
It is
hammer.
heavy.
Oh, it's heavy, right? Take Thor's hammer, smash for me some kind of marketing myth, bogus strategy, misconception. Set the record straight once and for all.
You do not need a personal brand or an evangelist to win on LinkedIn. That is a myth, that you need an evangelist or you need a lot of followers to win on LinkedIn. It's just not true. And if you think about it, it's actually a really bad strategy. It's a really poor way to scale a marketing function because it's really, really limited. So at a strategic side, the first thing I think about when we talk with VPs of sales, VPs of marketing, CROs, is this worth our energy and investment? All right. Problem number one is there's only ever going to be so many evangelists. So this is a limiting problem, right? There are only going to be so many people with so many followers. Social media obeys a power law. We have all heard about the long tail of content, that there's always going to be a Mr. Beast at the top who gets, 50 million views a video. And then there's going to be everybody else further down the long tail.
My parents are listening, maybe one of your friends is going to listen. That's it. That's all we know.
Yeah. And so with a few exceptions, think of B2B. Who are the big influencers, right? There's a handful of accounts who have more than 100,000 followers.
Sure.
And then, there's a bigger chunk, but not as many, who are in that 25 to 50,000 chunk. And then there's a lot of people below 25, and then even more below 10, and then so many below 5 or 4,000 followers. So the first thing I think about is that's a law of gravity on social media. It's something that we can't get around because as we get more popular, other people get more popular. And so it is really limiting to be, super successful on a social media platform because there's only going to be so many evangelists. But the truth is, the reason that companies pursue this strategy is that there's been this big shift from physical to digital. And so they feel like, well, we need to put somebody out there. We need to put a credible voice, a credible face to our brand marketing strategy and get in front of people and build that relationship before the sale. And there's a lot to that. I think that's probably true, right? I think that's why it works. That's why companies invest in it, is that in this digital world, we trust people, and having that personal connection with somebody makes a lot of sense, right? But now there's two problems that come with that.
Dude, real quick, I feel like you just steal that argument so well that I'm so nervous because now you're just going to smash it completely. You're like, I get it. Here's your reason. But guess what?
I get
You're
it.
all going to die. I can't wait.
What happens if they leave? And I will tell you, this is the number one thing every CMO I've talked to brings up, right? because I interact with social selling a lot. So a lot of my work at Aligned is working with sales teams more than anything, but they need marketing support.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the CMO's perspective is, well, we're just going to, invest a lot of time and energy into people. And what happens when they leave the company? Well, they take that asset with them.
They do.
It's not a company owned asset. It's a person owned asset. And so it's a huge leverage point for the individual, which is great. It's something I support. But the risk and reward of it to the company is that they might leave. And I can think of 7, 8, 9, 10 evangelists in my feed who have left their companies in the last 6 to 12 months, right? And they've moved on to a different brand. And what happens to the old brand? Well, it falls out of mind, right?
Look, I haven't thought about
away.
VanillaSoft since this conversation. So yeah, totally.
And that's a real problem, right? If you think about brand marketing, what's the purpose of brand marketing? It's to build permission with your audience. It's to have them say, yes, I want to hear from you. Yes, I will open up your newsletter. Yes, I want to learn more about your company. And we are staking it all on an individual because that's been the sort of way we want to do it. The other is the platform changes all the time. I don't know about you. My feed is often filled with endless frustration with the ever-changing algorithm, which presents its own challenges to being effective. But beyond that, there's not a lot, very few companies, in my opinion, have the discipline to execute an evangelist strategy, because it's not about putting somebody on a live show and getting them out there and talking about a theory, a methodology, a POV of the industry. It's having feedback loops with audience members, with trusted prospects. It's leveraging the sales motion. Instead of having your salespeople invite them to a call, it's having them invite them to this evangelist piece or evangelist show or listen to this podcast, whatever it is, right? You have to be relevant. You have to be timely. You have to have a creative vision for what the show is and stick to it far beyond most marketing organizations' horizons. And so all these problems sort of stack up to this, well, is evangelism worth it? Is an evangelist or a personal brand really worth it on LinkedIn if you're thinking about brand marketing? And I don't think it is. And more importantly, let's flip this. My original promise was you don't need it. And the truth is you don't need it to win on LinkedIn. The magic of LinkedIn is it is a 24/7 networking party. And we treat it as if as if all of us are on the TED stage and not all of us are in the audience. The truth is most of us are in the audience at these TED Talks. Most of us are in the chairs. Most of us are listening to other speakers. And the magic, we all know this. This is the old adage from every physical conference I've ever been to. Pre-pandemic, post-pandemic. It's, well, the content from the stage is fine, but you know why I went? It's because of the people there. It's because I got to, meet somebody, right?
Right.
That we know this. Why is that any different in digital?
I sometimes skip the presentations.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
It's not different in digital. LinkedIn is a networking platform. It's an opportunity for us to connect with other people at the same conference. And if we start treating it like that, then what we're going to spend every week doing is leaving comments, is sending DMs, asking people, hey, did you see this resource? Or check out this post because we were just talking about AI the other day and this person has a really interesting perspective. Or, hey, tell me more about your company because I'm interested. We might have opportunities to collaborate. I don't know. I mean, think about all the ways you start a conversation in person. Now just do it digitally. That's LinkedIn. And we think that, and this is the major mistake, and then I'll get off my soapbox, Casey. We confuse attention for credibility. And there's a Venn diagram, right? There's a Venn diagram between having attention and having credibility. But the ingredients that you have when you're earning attention on the platform is going viral, right? Or having that trendy hook or sensationalism or all of these things that get you the 100,000 impression posts, that get you the 25,000 followers, etc. But in all of our experience, it is nobody has ever come to me saying, oh, thank God I had a post go viral. Why? Well, because your buyers aren't paying attention that way. Your buyers are paying attention to the permission that you've built with them, the credibility you've built with them, the trust that you've earned. And one post alone is not going to do that, right? One post alone is not going to secure that deal or secure that lead. So if that's the case, we should be investing all of our energy in building credibility, building permission as an organization, as a company, and not necessarily leaving all of that work to one face who we may or may not be able to hire, who may or may not leave our organization in 12 to 18 months, and who may or may not be able to have the discipline to execute an evangelist strategy. So that's the myth. You don't need a personal brand or evangelist to win on LinkedIn.
Man, I feel like that needs like an explosion after that. It's not even a mic drop. So first of all, I feel dumb because that was really eye-opening. So I'm glad I'm learning from you here today. Man, the idea, I've never heard this, right? Like 300 plus episodes, and I haven't heard this. Now, somebody's going to correct me and be like, yeah, I like episode 37. But I'm pretty sure the idea that we're all using LinkedIn, and I feel it and I don't like it, right? And so it never felt good to me, and I haven't understood or had the words to know why. It's because we think that it's incentivizing us to all be talking at each other, and being those really annoying TEDx people that are, like on the TEDx stage, I understand, but like walking around, you're at the grocery store, you bump into someone, oh, hey, good morning. Good morning indeed is what happened to me 3 years ago.
Precisely.
Let me tell you the story about how I almost lost my life in this grocery store. You're like, no, I just was saying good morning. Yeah, we're all doing that, man. It's like it's almost that attention seeking feedback loop from the Instagram, TikTok-y type stuff, trying to see if there's a purchase inside of LinkedIn.
And it's because we think that attention earns us the sale or earns us the lead, right? I'm thinking of sale in the broad sense, right? The entire organization here. And it's just not the case, right? It's credibility. Are you a good person? Are you showing up with good intentions? Can you actually solve my problem? Are you as good as you say you are? That's credibility. And that can be done without having to, I'm on my flight at 3 a.m. this morning and I saw this in the airport and I'm going to share this out. Like that's fine, I guess, if you want to have a lot of followers, but it's never earned me any deals.
They spelled my name wrong at Starbucks. They used a K instead of a C. And then you know what? I didn't recycle that cup. Do you know why? Because there's too much recycling in this planet, and I'm going to donate to a landfill instead. You're like, share viral, but no one's buying that. No one's buying your thing. They've missed a step there. Okay. So I'm sort of parsing this. We're confusing attention for all sorts of things. You mentioned the sale. We're confusing attention for interest, for intent, for anything, right? Like, okay, what does attention mean before we go on to credibility? What should we just treat it as? Like, how far do we let it go? And then we just cut it off?
Attention is useful. I think it is maybe validation of an idea. I think, and if you get a little more granular, it's validation from a particular audience about your perspective or about your approach or about your idea, right? I mean, I work with a lot of SDRs and account executives. And when a bunch of SDRs and account executives like a post or send me a DM afterwards saying, hey, I have a question because your post was so good, that's attention. And that's good attention, right? Because it's validating the approach that we're using. And the same goes for all sorts of marketing. When you run a campaign or you do brand marketing of some kind, and that gets a lot of people to come in through your doors or a lot of people to reach out. Maybe they're not prospects or buyers, but say, hey, I really loved your ad, and they are the right audience. Love that attention, right? But I wouldn't take that much further on LinkedIn. Attention is just eyeballs, right? They're just people who are watching, Yeah.
Feels a little bit like eating cotton candy when you're hungry, You're like, oh, look at that. That's going to be so good. And your body's like, that's so sweet. But then it's like, but wait, there's not really any sustenance in this.
Yes.
We need more.
Yes.
Yeah. You can starve to death eating cotton candy. I actually don't know if you can starve to death eating cotton candy, but you know what? That's the quote I'm going to use. You can starve to death eating cotton candy.
I like it.
There it is. We'll clip that. But yeah, I love this, man. It's okay. Noted on attention. Let's talk credibility. You kind of rapidly described what you mentioned. Are you a good person? Are you good as you talk more about what is credibility? And then I want to shift over into like, how the hell do I get it
so
the right way?
At the top level, the way I think about it is synonymous with Seth Godin's famous permission marketing. So, and I have this quote in front of me, and it just rings in my head from Seth Godin. Permission marketing is the privilege, not the right, of delivering anticipated, personal, and relevant messages to people who actually want to get them. In order to get permission, you make a promise. You say, I will do X, Y, and Z. I hope you will give me permission by listening. And then you deliver on that promise. So credibility, I like the way Franklin Covey has this framework that they think about credibility, which is 4 questions. Okay. Question 1 is, can I trust you? And that's about your integrity. Question 2 is, are you a good person? And that's intent. Are you showing up with good intent? Number 3 is, can you actually solve my problem? That's about capabilities. And question 4 is, are you as good as you say you are? Results. And the funny part is, a lot of us are quite good at number 3 and number 4, capabilities and results. We talk about the problems we solve, and we have social proof. We bring in case studies. We bring in testimonials. We talk about our customers. We say, wow, look at how extraordinary our company is or how great our product is, and all of that, right? And the truth is, on LinkedIn, number 1 and number 2 is where the magic happens. Can I trust you? And are you a good person? So credibility in this way, when it's done right, is earning that same idea from Seth Godin. It's earning permission. So when you send a DM to somebody and you've showed up in their feed or you've engaged in their comments or on, you know that that person will respond to you because you've built that permission. That's credibility to me, right? Think about the influencers or the thought leaders that you follow. And if they showed up in your DM, in your DMs or in your inbox, not an in-mail or whatever, with just a basic ask, right? Which is like, hey, wanted your feedback on this, or hey, because you showed up to an event last year, we had a great time. We're hosting something similar this year. Wanted to know if you're interested. And these are from people that you trust, right? That's factor 1, or that have shown up with good intentions consistently. You're going to pay attention to them. Same goes. I mean, and I think where we lose this, Casey, is for whatever reason, when we went from the physical world to the digital world, we just like unplugged our brains from common sense. The same stuff happens in physical. If you're at an in-person networking event and somebody you don't know comes up to you and says, hey, I got this great workshop for you. It's $50. Do you want to buy it? You look at him and you go, what? What are you talking about? No, I don't want that. No. And there's no difference on LinkedIn. There's no difference. Yeah. It's the same stuff. It's just digital.
When you read off Godin's permission marketing, by the way, great quote. Shout out to Seth. Man, I thought, privilege, not the right of delivering messages, getting the permission, and then delivering on those promises. I thought, what is it? Something like 90% of all the emails we get completely violates the shit out of that, right? It's not even close. It's not like, not even close at all. So nice dream. That's what we should aspire to. But gosh, have we sort of abandoned that? And that would be great. Like, this is what I'd like. Cool. I get this in my inbox. Only a few times have I had. I think there's probably 2 email newsletters I'll subscribe to because they actually look, oh, interesting. And I'll stay on there. Otherwise, the rest, I'm either filtering it or unsubscribing it or killing it.
And that's that intent problem, right? We all have that sniffer of like, oh, they're trying to sell me. Or like, oh, they're really trying to push me down some funnel. I got on a sequence like that the other week where the upfront resource was really good. Email 2 was really good, and I was very hopeful. And then it just spiraled out of existence from there. Which is,
that's all we got.
Okay, yeah, thanks, I guess.
Jeez. So if you want to, I mean, what's kind of like a first step then, or what gets us on the path to how we do this the right way? If we're keeping in mind Covey's 4, where do we start? If we're pivoting away from being divas on LinkedIn, where do we go?
You go to your network, man. So here's the thing. I think of 3 buckets on LinkedIn. Okay. And this goes for sellers. This goes for marketers, right? Bucket 1 are influencers. They're the people who already have the stage. Okay. They have the posts that get 300, 400 likes. They have the 50,000 followers. They're the established evangelists for whatever they're doing, which is great. You can aspire to be to that. I don't have anything against it. I just don't think you don't need it to win, right? So bucket 1 are influencers. Bucket 2 are peers. Your peers, people who are doing the same stuff you're up to. If you're a performance marketer, it's other performance marketers, right? If you are a demand gen strategist, it's other demand gen people. If you're CMOs, it's other CMOs.
Yeah.
And then bucket 3 are engaged customers and prospects. And so this is the mistake. You'll see this a lot in the sales side, where sellers sort of take a profile as guilty until proven innocent. And so they'll send them an email or they'll send them a message saying, hey, you should buy from us. And what do they get? They get nothing out of it because people don't buy like that on LinkedIn. And so when I say engaged customers and prospects, I'm looking for signs of life. I'm looking for, have they posted anything? Have they reshared anything? Do they like anything? Do they comment on anything? Because if they're not active on the platform more than, you can go to somebody's profile and gradually do this. You don't have to do this all at once. And Casey, I can look at your activity and I can see what are you liking and what are you commenting on. If somebody that
what am I liking and commenting on?
If somebody isn't really doing it much, I'm not gonna spend the. It's like somebody who comes into a conference for one session in the morning and then disappears for the rest of the program.
Yeah, and they're still in the pajamas when they came in.
I'm not going to spend time getting to know them. No offense. Like, it's just, where do I want to invest my energy? I'm going to invest it with the people who have a stage, my peers, and people who are active on the platform. And all I'm going to do, and this is the simplest thing we seem to screw up, is I'm going to engage with them. That's it. I'm going to leave a comment on a post, right? It could be a funny comment. Could be an insightful one, could be a curious one, especially really good on influencers or maybe the people you want to sell to, engage with, buy with, who are in the comments already. You reply to their comment with something funny, interesting, curious.
Yeah.
You go find your peers, send them a connection request. Be like, hey, don't do the over professional stuff, right? If you wouldn't speak it out loud, don't type it on LinkedIn. So, hey, Casey, see we're both in marketing and also seems like we both host podcasts. Let's talk podcasts and send. Connect with my peers, right? And then lastly, with customers and prospects, go find them. Maybe they're already, if they're active, they're commenting on stuff. You don't have to connect with them immediately, but you're just gradually building out the network. And all you're doing then is over a period of time, you're using content, not as attention grabbing, but educating the audience or providing interesting point of view, and you're engaging with them. You find a reason to have a conversation. You don't have to do it with everybody all at once, but you see somebody switched a job to a company start a conversation. You see somebody engaged on, your favorite sports team, start a conversation. It kind of feels basic. I don't know about you. This feels like 101. But the number of marketers and sellers that we work with think it's more complicated, and it's not. And the reason I know it's not is that we've built a business on the basics of 101, of just going out and having a network and starting meaningful conversations.
Yeah. Dude. Drops the mic, drinks the water. Powerful. Where does this go? If you follow this trend, good and the bad, the crazy people getting crazier on LinkedIn, and then more and more people value and credibility. What do you see around the corner? What are you excited for? What changes are coming that we should keep an eye out for?
Well, I think we're in the biggest B2B shift right now, and I have no idea how it's going to shake out. And that shift is from physical to digital.
You think it's still in the physical digital? Like, because there's that, and then there was marketing automation, and then there's ABM, and then now there's AI. But you feel like the shift is still, though, going to the digital side.
And I mean this in a macro sense. Like, yeah, sure, HubSpot released their inbound marketing model in what, 2012, 2014, whatever it was. So we're less than a decade on. Sales especially is suffering, right? And the reason is it didn't have a reason to shift until the pandemic, because you used to have all these field sales people who now have to be digital sellers, and that's a big shift for go-to-market programs. And then the other problem is actually out of HubSpot's inbound marketing program. Everybody took the playbook, and now we are surrounded by noise. And the problem is that I call this the brick wall. We've all constructed the brick wall. We all just tune out the non-applicable things. And so the problem I think every organization is running into, whether they have SDR sending email sequences, or they have marketing automation sending email nurture campaigns, or they're running ads or whatever, is that people are so overwhelmed by all of it that they just sort of tune it out. Now, why does this make me excited, and why do I think about physical to digital? It means that the people who can cut through the noise are going to have incredible leverage to take advantage of this. And the way that I think you cut through the noise, the way that the reason that I'm excited about that shift is that we get to lean on the fundamentals of good marketing. What is disruptive? What's going to get people's attention? How are we going to raise their eyebrows, right? Because B2B, my first part of my career was in B2C. I was designing websites. I was doing email marketing for small businesses mostly, but also some e-commerce shops. And the truth is, B2B kind of sounds the same. I like to affectionately joke that the product marketers are running the asylum. And there's a lot of just product-centric messaging, product-centric campaigns, and people don't know what product they should buy. I mean, we're not in King Soopers or a city market or some grocery store. We are shopping online, and those brands that connect with us digitally, not in a physical sense, not in trade shows, not et cetera, but somebody has the creative audacity, the creative courage to create something that is emotional or has a lot of personality or has a lot of authenticity, is going to just slice through all of the noise that buyers are forced into. And I think it's going to raise some eyebrows. And we start to see this, right? There's a couple companies that have done really good about like their point of view, especially as a service company. Like this is what we believe in. Like Refine Labs and Chris Walker, really good about driving that, point of view, right?
Yeah, but it's not Chris. It's all the cold brew that he drinks, right? I mean, that's the real secret.
It is. Honestly, I wish it.
It's caffeination. That's what it is.
But other B2B companies like Lavender, the email coach, has done a good job about doing some disruptive short form video content about like, cold email is supposed to work this way. That's cool. That's funny. Right. But I think there's this groundswell in the next couple of years for companies to really take advantage of creative and courageous, meaning campaigns, to really connect with buyers. Because honestly, there's probably an AI tool to solve all your problems. And the issue is going to be there's going to be 3,000 AI tools to solve all your problems. And now buyers are just going to, I don't know which one to buy. And so they don't buy any. And that problem is going to be everywhere. So I'm very excited to see some creativity in a traditionally kind of buttoned up industry.
And hell yeah. Hell yeah. Let's go. But really, my next question is like, who are you? Who are you? I've had at least 3 dumb caveman moments listening to you. explain to me what I've been feeling for so long about social and authenticity and the permission, all these things, right? How do you know these things? What kind of superhero potion did you drink? Did you get bit by a spider? Can you take me back in time, like Little Morgan days? Did you know you're going to be doing this stuff? Were you marketing it like 3?
And no radioactive spiders on my journey, Casey. I know. Sorry. No, we had a Thor hammer earlier as well. I was not blessed with some super godly powers. Although
it's the real one too.
You are worthy. You know, I admire.
Yeah.
No one.
That's the authenticity coming through right there. It's the real
oh yeah,
hammer,
I'm sure it is. When I was young, I had the blessing, and for a while it was a blessing in disguise, but now it's a blessing to grow up in a pretty entrepreneurial household. My dad still does marketing campaigns, still does crazy disruptive stuff. And like he'll create, I don't know, hand engraved coffins as a contact campaign, or, you know, some of those are more old school stuff.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, what? Like he'll ship you a coffin
or to your place
of
business when the campaign was run. Yeah.
What, that you're gonna die if you don't sign up for his services?
So the campaign was like IT transformation, and you know, e-commerce stores had a big like cross-channel conflict problem. Stuff was in the store, stuff was online, but maybe they weren't in both places. And so this company had a solution. And so the campaign was, let's create back then you could get away with like a 5-minute video. So we're going to create a 5-minute spooky video, and we're going to put it inside a coffin that's engraved mobilize or die. And we're going to send it to all of our chief, like CTO contacts at, you know, our companies, and get them to respond, you know, with a phone that was inside the coffin, and give us a call.
Hell yeah, there was.
So it was, that was the kind of energy.
Wait, was it
no. It was a smaller coffin.
Okay, I was picturing some giant shipment of like a giant coffin being sent.
No,
it fits your body. Like hop in and take a nap on us. Oh my gosh. Okay, I feel a little bit better that it was a small one, but I love the
and the little video player in there, and then a phone to pick up and call somebody. And you know, I grew up around that sort of like the purpose of marketing is, yes, to generate sales. Like, it's supposed to close deals. And also, you're supposed to have fun doing it. Like, I grew up around this energy of marketing is supposed to be audacious and crazy and remarkable. People are supposed to remark upon your marketing campaigns. And that's gotten me in trouble before, you know? Like, companies aren't necessarily willing to play risky. When they are...
Can you tell me about how you got in trouble?
I can't
spill tea. What happened?
I mean, I can give the high level sort of like.
You can't.
I really wanted to do.
You want to say it in big Latin?
Right. I'll say it backwards too, and then recite it 3 times at the end. The I mean, I've definitely tried to push clients of ours at Aligned and in previous brand strategy work to like, let's get real. Let's connect with people. We're more than a company. Let's paint the vision. What's the transformation that they get? And let's be honest about the personal side of it. You know, it's always funny working in supposedly like personal industries like healthcare. But the minute you go to the healthcare technology companies, they're also buttoned up about how great their product is. And I'm like, healthcare's saving lives. Why don't we talk about saving lives? Why don't we talk about how our technology helps save lives? Like, it's not that stretch of an imagination here, but then everybody gets so, you know, scared about it. But anyways, instead of waiting tables in school, I taught myself to build websites. This was like, when was this? This was early Web 2.0. So this was like 2009. And I caught the early wave of that when it was a big deal for have like 5,000 Twitter followers, and, you know, marketing automation was brand new. You know, MailChimp had just launched their first drip sequencer or whatever it was back then. And sort of rode that wave until I wanted to stop freelancing. And I got a degree in college in economics. So I went and worked for a city and did a brand, basically a brand campaign for a city, which is fascinating. It's a real problem because you can't change what you sell. So you have to basically sell what you have. And that's its own sort of creative constraint.
Right.
You got to sell to businesses and people that they should move there or relocate there or expand there. And then after that, once my life turned into an episode of Parks and Rec, I decided to get out of it. And great show, not great to live in. And did brand strategy work until today. So I think a lot about companies' long-term engagement, honestly, Casey. How do we create a company that lasts for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years?
Yeah. Love the idea of mixing it up. And, if you're not getting in trouble in marketing, are you really pushing enough,
No.
Especially if it's on brand, it's just extreme on brand.
Yeah. And no, you don't have to be dumb about it. Like if you're selling to lawyers, like you don't have to be outrageous. Yeah. But those lawyers are people and they care about, I don't know, fast cars or cool experiences or their kids' swim meet practice. Like we shouldn't avoid those sorts of conversations. And I think, and that's where can I tie something really quick? That's why I think like LinkedIn is so unique in that way is if you get off the pedestal and you go actually have those real conversations. I can talk to people about my love for camping, right? Because I saw they posted some photo about them in the great outdoors and be like, oh, what's your favorite spot? And they could be a super technical engineer, or they could be a founder or a chief commercial officer or whatever. And at the end of the day, they're just a person and they live their own life and they have kids.
I ended up making a great friend from a podcast interview with someone when I invited them. I said, you know what, let's talk marketing strategy and sci-fi, because somewhere on their LinkedIn profile it said that. And I was like, you got to really like that to throw that on your LinkedIn profile. Like, let's go. So I'm like, okay. And afterward we swapped, the end of the podcast, we swapped favorite books and I sent her a copy. And, she said, hey, next time I'm up in New Hampshire, like with my friends, when we go hiking, like we'll invite you. And they certainly did. And we went hiking together. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about, man. Like, that's a relationship I want to have. Like that customer. No, it's like real people.
Yes. It's real people. And the truth is all of our buyers are real people. And that always gets taken into a weird extreme where, B to H, business to human selling. And like, no, that's at the end of the day, like it's still a company making a decision about whether they should hire your company. And so, we have all that. But for the one-on-one work, they're a person. They're not just a purchasing automaton. At least not yet.
Yeah.
And
I don't see ChatGPT tying back in their life story back to LinkedIn and the original Mismatch like you did, sir. That was brilliant. You'd have to prompt it 3 times for that. I've got a different kind of a question for you now. It's a bit of a hypothetical because you see, I may or may not have a time machine here in New Hampshire, right? So you come visit.
I'm impressed.
You come visit. Yeah, I do. It's under a tarp in the backyard, right? So you come visit. We get some beers. We get some lobster. Let's go. Play with a time machine. Honey, we'll be back in no time, literally. And so we get to mess around with this time machine. But it's a specific kind, and it takes us back in time. And you get to go visit yourself 4 days after graduating from school, 4 days after, your young man life, right? And you get to go visit yourself and chat with yourself. You just got an economics degree. There we go. You get the economics degree, and you're like, look at me. I got a BA in economics. And what do you tell yourself? What kind of advice do you give yourself at that point?
Oh, such a good question. Do we get to pull up in a DeLorean? Is that the time machine?
Yes. I feel it's got a visual modification adapter. So if you want to show up in a DeLorean versus a Stagecoach, it's totally possible.
Okay. Yeah. No, stagecoaches weren't around when I graduated college. They're long gone. So probably DeLorean's best.
Or a train that doesn't need wheels, because roads, we don't need roads. Yeah.
We don't need roads. It's a really good question, I think. The first thing I'd probably say is stick with what you're doing. Like, I've always believed that the path is the way. Like, we're supposed to there's a Franciscan priest that has this great phrase called falling upwards. We're supposed to fall upwards, right? We're supposed to go through a job that didn't work out, or, a piece of advice that led us astray, or there's somebody who, we thought something was going to work out and then it didn't.
Right.
And I can think of a lot of moments where, a job that I thought was really for me turned out not for me. A client that we took on thought they were going to be great. Turns out they were great. And I learned a ton from that experience. And I think that piece of advice to somebody, to myself right out of college, is just stick to it and just kind of trust the process. That's sort of a cliche phrase, but it's definitely worked out for me, just to trust the process.
Yeah.
Now, the second thing I'd say is don't go eat tacos Rapidos on a Friday night, because that night they had some bad beef in store and you're really going to regret that decision. But that would be the other thing I'd add.
Don't do it on a Friday. And so then for the rest of your young life, you're going to be like, what was that old guy talking about? No Fridays? And then you're like, I don't do meat on Fridays. Why? Well, I visited myself from the future, and that was the one message that got through. Everything else got staticky. I don't remember the rest, but I definitely remembered no tacos on Friday.
Yep, exactly.
That's sick, man. Well, I mean, what is it lined up to? What is it doing? What are you excited about? Where's it going?
Great question. So we really do two things, Casey. One is we get sales teams to adopt social in the way that I talked about today.
Cool.
And most of the time it's an uphill battle. We love to fight that uphill battle because we take a sales-led approach. We help them figure out their prospecting workflows, who they're supposed to talk to, and we train them. Yeah. We do training, enablement, workshops, all the rest of that.
They can fall upward.
But the second, they can fall upward, exactly. Now, the second thing that we do, which is a little bit broader, and sometimes it's on the back end of a social selling training program, is we help get sales and marketing in alignment, hence the name, aligned. Right. And the reality is, right now, the economic circumstances are a little shifty beneath us. And there's all of these other big changes that are happening. AI, to name one, but the shift from physical to digital and all the rest of it. And the thing that we've seen is that companies just miss their revenue targets, or they just can't get consistent growth for some reason. They have weak pipeline for some reason. And most of the time, it's because they're stuck in a cycle of misalignment between what marketing is doing and what sales is doing. Sales has shadow ICPs. They have their own version of who they sell to, and rarely does that cycle back into marketing. And marketing has their own idea about how the messaging is supposed to work. And a lot of the time, that doesn't reach all the way back into sales. And so sellers are off saying their own stuff when marketing's already invested, 2.5 years in voice of customer research. And our job, our work is usually at an executive level, is to get teams to functionally work together and cross-functionally work together so the go-to-market itself is successful. So that's what we're up to. And I'm so excited because, we tend to work with mid-market-esque companies, larger teams, and there's so much opportunity right now to become a market leader. The ground is shifting beneath everybody's feet, which means the team that takes advantage of this moment in time can really catapult them.
I love that you're in that space, helping teams fall upward and fix things and get that relationship needs work. And otherwise you're guessing. When you mentioned that thing, I just thought back to when I would bring a whole bunch of leads in for sales, and they would cherry pick certain ones. And unless you chat with them or sit next to them and find out, they were actually they were avoiding a certain lead form that had less fields because they thought that person chose to not fill out as many fields as the other one. Not because we made it a more sexy, efficient marketing form. No, they thought, these people didn't care enough to fill things out. So they left alone. They just ignored them. And they're like, the long form converts more to revenue than the short form does. Well, now we know why.
Now we
but
know
like,
why.
You were inferring, and so yeah.
Well,
I love that you're in that role,
and especially at a strategic level, you think about targeting. Your top salespeople are going to know who to sell to, and this is always like one of our favorite pieces of work is going out and doing interviews with customers and prospects, right? Going and interviewing the top salespeople. This is part of what we do. And going and interviewing the product marketers and then the marketing programs people or whoever's sort of on the demand gen plus performance marketing side and comparing notes. And for funsies, sometimes we'll throw in customer success depending upon the kind of product, because sometimes customer success is a really good perspective on who 100%. The best customers are, right? Yeah. And then we just compare notes and we say, well, marketing is sort of targeting these 3 buckets and sales has one of those 3, but they've also added on these 2 because success really likes those other 2. But then your prospects disagree about this point of, and it's sort of just getting everything aligned together. And when that organization hits it right and they got all the pieces in alignment. Of course, it's not going to solve all the headaches. Of course, there's going to be so many moving parts, but the fundamental strategy's there. And when that's there, man, life is just so much easier. It's just so much easier.
Hell yeah.
There's room for experimentation.
Yeah, just make it rain.
Yeah.
You're like a rain shaman.
Something like that.
Should rebrand.
I don't have a dance for that though, Casey. I feel like a rain shaman has to have a.
I'll teach
you.
Okay. I got one.
Performance art. Yeah.
It's performative. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on here. Where can people get in touch with you? They want to reach out, get more information about Aligned, reach out, connect with you, social. What's good?
Definitely just go find me on LinkedIn. There's more than one Morgan Smith, but Morgan Smith at the B2B Power Hour, I'm the one. I've got a gradient background. And connect with me. Shoot me a DM, questions. As you might imagine, Casey, I'm always open to talk about whatever's on people's minds. It's a great opportunity to connect with folks. So LinkedIn's the best.
Hell yeah, man. You got this green, yellow, blue, badass background on brand.
On brand.
Man. Perfect.
Thank you.
So good. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on here. I feel like sometimes you have interviews and you learn little things. You're reminded of things that you already knew, but this one, it's just so good. I feel like we had our own little mini power hour here on this show.
Heck yeah.
Thank you again. Yeah. Thank you. It's awesome.
Thank you. It's been great to be here, Casey. I really appreciated it and glad it was at least entertaining or informative, whichever one it was.
Yeah. I was so informed. I forgot to ask if I was entertained, but I think I was too.
Then I've really done my job.
Go
today.
back and listen again. but yeah, and for those listening, if you learned something, and I freaking know you did, because I got 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then share this with someone. Be a thought leader to 1 person, 2 people, 3,000 people, whatever. Put it in your words, your perspective. Share what you heard. And we'll hop in there in comments. Do it the right way. Do it the way we're talking about here. It's credibility. It's not the attention. With that, Morgan, thank you again, sir. You are the best.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. This has been it. Another crazy episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show.